Right, so today I'm really excited to talk about the power of emotional awareness and effective communication, particularly for neurodiverse individuals. Because understanding and expressing emotions in a clear, supportive way can significantly improve well-being and confidence. For many, emotional regulation and communication can feel overwhelming. And I have a lot of experience working with neurodiverse individuals. And I've realized when we equip them with the right tools and techniques, we can help them navigate social interactions, manage emotions more effectively, and create a sense of self-worth. And of course, this helps in every single area of their lives. So we're going to explore some different skills, and we're not only going to build resilience, but also create inclusive environments where everybody can feel happy and safe. And my story starts when I was a teenager. I went through some trauma. Basically. My father passed away and I found out in the newspaper. So I was completely, utterly shocked. I had so many emotions and I didn't know how to manage all of the emotions that I was feeling. And nor did my family. So there was a communication breakdown as well, because nobody knew what to say to me. I didn't know what to say. I didn't know how to express myself. So this lack of effective communication and emotional awareness really stayed with me for a long time. Anyway, so what I ended up doing, when I was feeling okay, I decided just to leave this situation. And I ended up living and working in teaching in 11 countries. As you can see, with all of the hearts, they are all of the countries that I lived and taught in. I was teaching primary students, secondary students, adults. And, I was a very confident teacher, but deep down, I had really low self-esteem because I hadn't really processed any of the grief that I'd experienced as a teenager, losing my father and everything. So fast forward 20 years. So I ended up teaching for 20 years. I looked back. I just looked back on my life and I just thought, all of these years, all of these countries teaching, I would like to do something else. And I really wasn't sure what to do. And I kept meeting coactive coaches. So I decided to take some training, coactive training, and then decide what I want to do, because I thought maybe this will give me some self-awareness. And it did exactly just that. Taking part in this course, which was over 2 years, really made me realize, how important it was to work on yourself and how, self-awareness is just so fundamental in everything we do in our lives. We don't know what we don't know. So during this transformation, I just realized that, awareness is the first step to anything and everything. So in that moment, I realized that I wanted to, be a coach and work with teenagers, children, and parents, and really teach key tools and techniques that I wish I'd have had as a teenager. And also I wish that my mum would have had as well. So that's what I do today. So today I'm a certified professional coach. Obviously, I've got 20 years teaching experience behind me, international. I'm also a public speaker. So that's what I do. And like I said, I teach teenagers and adults to have core confidence, because I believe it's not just about having self-confidence, your ability to do things. It's about how you really feel about yourself as well. And I work with, children, teenagers who have lack of confidence, poor communication, loneliness, isolation, stress, fear, anxiety, putting too much pressure on ourselves, and perfectionism. And as I mentioned, I work with teenagers and adults as well. And I really do believe, and I've seen in my experience, if these problems are not dealt with straight away, they can really turn into more serious problems like depression. Anxiety can turn into severe anxiety, bullying, self-harm, addiction, different types of addiction. So I really believe it's really, really important to equip children and teenagers with these key tools and techniques that I learned during my coaching training to prepare them for life. So the first question is what I always ask, my clients, participants in my workshop. How are you really feeling today? Like, how are you really feeling right now? And it's such a powerful question. It's such a simple question, but it's also a question that we rarely ask ourselves or ask other people, and are really authentic as well with our answers, because most of the time you hear, I'm good, I'm fine, things like that. So if you're there and you're watching, parents, adults, whoever you are, I would love you to just stop for a second and just, ask yourself, how are you really feeling? And how do you know how you're feeling? And maybe you're feeling more than one emotion. That's absolutely possible. We have so many feelings. And one of the most important things that I learned in coaching was there are no right or wrong feelings, no positive or negative feelings. Whatever we are feeling is okay. This blew my mind and was the first step to changing my whole entire life. Okay, so that's the first question. And I do believe that the power of effective communication and emotional awareness can really help in so many situations, if not all situations, if done correctly. And by the end of this session, I want you to be able to take away some key tools and techniques that you can start straight away, like really simple things that you can start straight away. So I really do believe it's the simple things that are powerful, and it's the simple things that we actually do, Otherwise we can get, so overwhelmed with so many things to do, and then we don't do anything. And I'm speaking from, myself as well. So the power of communication. So why is this good? Well, this builds a healthy relationship. So power of communication with your family, this builds a healthy relationship with children, and it equips them with key tools and techniques. Oops, okay. So the benefits of this is, children can then access their inner strength and courage. It allows them to become independent, self-reliant individuals, can maximize their potential in their studies, and of course, help them manage school transitions with ease and confidence. So the main idea is not to ignore the issue, and also not to overreact to the issue. So avoiding extremes. So let's have a look. I always teach the 3 golden rules. So number 1 is active listening, and we'll look at that. Validation and powerful questions. These are the 3 things that I'm going to be talking about today. And I think they're absolutely fundamental for having effective communication within the family. So active listening. So the first question I would, ask you to think about is, how do you feel when you're really being listened to? Because, we know when we're not being listened to. And of course, our children know when we're not listening to them. But equally, when we're being listened to, we feel good, right? It makes us feel important. It makes us feel acknowledged. So it's very important just to listen, really listen. So we're not just listening, we're digesting and understanding what our children are saying. It's not just about staying silent while your child or teenager is speaking and waiting for our turn to speak, or planning, your reply. So don't plan your reply, basically, because you might miss important information when you're thinking, okay, what am I going to say, or how am I going to solve this? you're missing out on what your child is actually saying. And of course, they can feel it. Active listening is also listening without any kind of judgment. And I think this is really, really important too. If your children are feeling judged, are they going to speak to you? So are you going to create that strong relationship with them? Don't talk over them. Let them speak. Also, active listening is, nodding your head, acknowledging, saying things like, oh, I see, summarize what you hear. This shows that you have been listening. And again, when we know we're being listened to, we're going to feel safe, we're going to feel acknowledged, we're probably going to open up more. This is going to strengthen the relationship. And put down your phone. There's research that probably we all know about. If you're talking to someone and you have your phone, there's research that suggests the other person doesn't feel like they're being listened to, even if you're not checking your phone, which of course, don't check your phone. So put down your phone, even remove it out of the way, and really listen with your full attention. And this creates a feeling of respect, connection, goodwill. And of course, when you do this with your children, they will be more willing to listen to you. So it's really a win-win situation. So more on active listening. So active listening will help your children encourage them to explore their own thoughts and feelings. And they will probably come up with solutions themselves. And, just so, because I have a lot of parents come to me and they say, I'm really worried about my child. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to say. They just want to solve the problem. And, often I say, have you tried just listening? And as it says here, just a caring attitude and being silent sometimes is all it takes. So that's lots on active listening. So we cannot underestimate how important active listening is. So the next golden rule is validation. So, as sometimes children, same as adults, cannot or aren't able to express their feelings, because sometimes it's really hard to even know how we're feeling, let alone express our feelings. I mean, I definitely didn't know how to express my feelings as a teenager, and I've only just learned a few years ago. So when we put our feelings into words, it can have a deep impact. When we put their feelings into words, sorry. So we can help them identify their feelings, and this will help them feel understood and cared for. And, it's easy to say, oh, I understand how you feel. This is so general, and we can say this so easily. It's very important to be specific. So if your child's talking about something, instead of just saying, I understand how you feel, you could say, for example, yes, there are so many different things, like they're starting a new school, for example, and you can say, yes, there's so many different things to get used to, new classrooms, new teachers. It must be really hard. This shows that we understand them. We're validating them. And you can use phrases like, I imagine, or you might feel worried or tired or something. We can identify the feeling. And it doesn't matter if it's not right. They will correct us. Or I imagine that feels very stressful, or you might feel overwhelmed. We can help them identify feelings. And, like I said before, what happens if you identify a feeling and it turns out to be wrong? Don't worry, they will correct you. And already you're creating that space for effective communication. You're having real conversations real communication. So, and you can ask a question to see if you have understood correctly. If you're not sure, because maybe you just don't know, and you can say, if I understand you right, then you're saying this, or are you saying that? You can ask. You don't need to know everything. So the information is flowing. You are learning what's important. You're having real communication with your child, teenager. And, you can follow up with, oh, I see, and let them explain further. So they're actually telling you, you are listening, you are validating, but they are the ones explaining. And feeling listened to and being validated is all they want in order to feel better. And probably you can identify to that as adults as well. Sometimes when we've just been listened to, we've got a really big problem, we're feeling terrible, we talk about it, we've been listened to, we feel better, right? Same for children. Often, after being listened to and given a short pause to think, like I said before, children can come up with their own solutions. Listening, validating, giving them time, normally 9 times out of 10, they will come up with their own solutions. We just need, as parents, to be patient and nod along. And, more things that you can say when you're validating them. You could say, it might be hard making new friends at school. And, they might say, no, that's the easy part. It's the work that's hard. But now you have effective communication. You are talking about what's really going on. So that's validation. So we've got active listening, validation, and now empowering questions, which is the third golden rule. So after we've done the active listening, we've acknowledged the feelings, you might want to provide the solution. But as I mentioned before, there's no need to do this. There's a better way to improve communication. Empowering questions. So we want to ask them a good quality question, so a thought-provoking question. This helps your child gain insights and realizations about themselves. This can be empowering because it allows them to find their own solution. And powerful questions are particularly helpful when, your child or teenager is feeling demotivated, or they believe that they just can't do something. When you ask them a question and they find the answers themselves, it motivates them. There's so many different powerful questions, but they need to be open. For example, what can you do right now? How can you do it? What small step can you take today to help you towards achieving it? So it's really asking them what they can do, what they think. So what, how, when, who, these open questions. In coaching, we tend not to use why questions so much, because why questions, if you're talking to your child and they're not feeling very good about something and you just say, why did you do that? Why are you feeling like that? The why questions are not so empowering. They tend to be more judgmental, not all of them. So we sort of stay away from those. And we ask what, how, when, who questions and wait for them to answer the question. So some more examples of powerful questions. So, and I would like you to, take a minute and just have a look at these questions. Just choose one question and answer it in your mind. Or if you're with somebody, you can ask them the question. Just have a look at one of these questions and just answer one yourself, so you can sort of experience what it feels like. Because maybe you already use these questions, but in my experience, most of the time when I show these powerful questions, parents, teenagers, they haven't asked themselves or been asked these questions for a long, long time, if ever. So, you can really learn things about yourself. These are just a few examples. If you could change anything, what would you do? What is something you're great at? Who or what makes you laugh most? What is the best present you've received? What makes you happy? They're just questions that make you think a little bit. So then you learn a little bit about yourself. And there's so many. So yes. So better communication equals active listening plus validation plus empowering questions. Whoops. So we really want to create that safe space. So again, we're showing respect, we're being supportive, we're giving them space, we're reassuring them, and again, there's no judgment or criticizing. So this is what creating a safe space is all about. This is very important. And timing is crucial. So going back to, your children, they're scared about starting a new school or have fears about other things. Timing is crucial. So we need to, acknowledge their need to talk. We need to acknowledge it. We need to have that in-depth conversation. And it needs to be a time and a place that works for them, because you can't, maybe, when you come home, when the child comes home from school and then you start having this conversation, it's probably not the right time when they've just finished school. So timing is really crucial. And I love this. If we don't talk things out, we act them out. And it's just so true. Children, if they're not very happy, if they're going through things, their behavior is what speaks. So this is true. So we want to talk things out so our children don't act things out. So, and you can tell them, I see that there are a few things on your mind. I can help you with that. Why don't we fix a time to chat about it after class? So ask them when is a good time for them to talk about it. And, you can plan the conversation before it happens. If you're not sure what to say, you can plan it before it actually happens. So you can get some phrases ready. You can, learn what kind of problems you can expect and manage your emotions as well. That's very, very important. So emotional well-being. So the first question that I would ask, and this is for everyone, is, do you avoid your emotions or do you acknowledge them? Because in my experience, we're not taught this in school. Maybe we are nowadays, but before we just simply were not taught about emotional well-being in schools. So, how we are with our emotions is probably how we're going to pass on to our children and the people who we're taking care of. So it's very, very important to know how to manage your emotions. And of course, when we realize and learn how to process our emotions in healthy ways, there are just numerous benefits. Emotions have important messages, for example. So the first step to emotional well-being is emotional awareness. Again, we don't know what we don't know. So I would like to ask you again, how are you really feeling? Maybe you don't know. And again, I'm going to say, remember, there are no right or wrong feelings. Whatever you're feeling is okay. And the reason I'm speaking to you as an audience, maybe you're neurodiverse, maybe you're neurotypical, this is for everybody. And, it's very, very important for us to become self-aware. The more self-aware we are, the more aware we can be for other people as well. The more things we see in ourselves, the more we see in other people. The more we understand ourselves, the more we understand other people. So it's a win-win-win. Building the relationship with ourselves helps us build the relationship with everybody else in our lives. So how are you feeling is the first question. And did you know that how many feelings we actually have? If you take a look at this feelings wheel, as you can see, we have so many feelings. And, you know, a lot of the time when I'm working with neurodiverse individuals, neurotypical individuals, you know, they don't have the words to express themselves. And not only do they don't have the words, they can become completely overwhelmed with all of the different feelings. You know, we don't have the language. We're brought up saying, how are you feeling? I'm fine. I'm good. And as you can see, we have so many other more feelings than this. And my experience working with neurodiverse individuals, I've noticed that when I have provided the language, it's just given them so much relief. You know, it's like, yes, that's the feeling. That's the feeling. And you know, when we learn how to express ourselves, it's a step towards processing our emotions in a healthy way. So what I would love you to do right now, and I do this with individuals that I work with, particularly neurodiverse individuals, and it seems to work very, very well. So I would like you to experience this, because I really do believe listening can help, but experiencing, there's nothing quite like it. So I would love you now to take 3 deep breaths. Close your eyes and listen, because now I'm going to show you how to process your emotions in healthy ways. And when you can do it with yourself, you can also do it with others. But first step, as always, is with ourselves. So 3 deep breaths and close your eyes. And I would like you to scan your body from head to toe, and I would like you to notice the dominant feelings. What feeling is dominating? Maybe you don't know the name of that feeling. That's okay. That's okay. Just first of all, identify there is a feeling. That's the first step. And I want you to think about, where is that feeling in your body? Is it in your chest? Is it in your head? Is it on your legs, on your feet? Where is it in your body? Next question. Keep relaxing with your eyes closed. What color is that emotion, that feeling? What color is it? Is it bright? Is it dark? Is it light? What shape is that emotion? What texture is that emotion? Is it a liquid? Is it a solid? How else can you describe this feeling? And now I want you to think about, what is the message from this feeling? What is the message? And open your eyes when you're ready. And I just want you to think about, you know, what came up for you? What came up for you? This is a very impactful exercise that I do with my neurodiverse students, and it works extremely well, because, you know, a lot of the neurodiverse individuals I work with are extremely visual, and when they close their eyes, they can really see this emotion, this feeling. And even if you can't see it, maybe you can sense it. That's all okay. But this is a great way to connect with yourself, to learn about yourself, to realize how you're feeling. Where is that feeling in my body? What's that feeling telling me? and really, really feel it. And it's okay if it feels uncomfortable. This is the first step to emotional well-being. So, as I mentioned, emotional well-being, emotional awareness equals emotional well-being. First step is acknowledge your emotions. Accept your emotions without judgment. This is very, very important as well. Name and identify your emotions. And get curious and explore. Explore your emotions. The more we can explore and be curious without judgment, the more information we will get from our body. You know, our body is such an intelligent source. And if we can use it and gain as much information as we can learn about ourselves, we can empower others around us and help them learn about themselves and empower themselves. The more we know about how our mind and body works, the more we can act to serve ourselves. But the first step is always awareness. And these kind of exercises really help us gain awareness. And of course, you know, I've worked with many neurodiverse individuals, and they are all different. We are all different. Everybody is different. We all have our unique way of, you know, thinking, doing, being, and just giving space, that safe space, providing these tools and techniques, and letting them find out about themselves, their way, and then we can support even more. So emotional and effective communication, I believe, are the pathways to well-being for neurodiverse individuals. And the takeaway for today's session is, remember that tailored emotional awareness and communication boost confidence in neurodiverse individuals. Also promotes an inclusive, supportive space and empowers better emotional and social skills. Thank you so much for listening. I would also like to say I have a creative confidence program which is on the Unitas TI Cloud, which is a program that is for adolescents, neurodiverse and neurotypical, helping them build their self-confidence, resilience, self-esteem, boost their communication skills, and helps them in all areas of their life, helping them find their self-identity all through self-awareness activities. So please feel free to click on the link below to book a demo for that. And also, I would love it if you connect with me, because I really do believe that we can learn and share, you know, this knowledge that we have. And I always believe that there's always so much more to learn. So thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure talking on the Autism Summit, and hope to stay in touch.